This episode of The Inspiration Show is extremely special because one of my favorite people is joining me. The incredibly talented Linedy Genao is an incredible performer who made her Broadway debut in On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan musical. She has also starred in Dear Evan Hansen and most recently portrayed the title role in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Bad Cinderella on Broadway. To have Linedy in my life is truly one of the greatest gifts, and she has inspired me in countless ways and has impacted my life and theater journey immensely. It's such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're gonna make me cry. Thank you. Oh,
Well, so your story with how you got to where you are now never fails to amaze me. So you originally started out in banking and then Broadway crept up on you. Can you share with us more about that story?
yes, of course. I've been singing since I was little in church. My dad was the choir director. My mom and all my aunts were in the choir, and ever since I could walk, I would run up to the microphone and sing, with them in my own baby language until I then, of course, learned Spanish and English. And then I discovered theater in like middle school and really high schools when I started to really understand and take it seriously. And I had an incredible theater teacher who just saw so much potential in me and really pushed me. And that's really when I understood that you can sing, act, and dance at the same time. Because again, I would sing in church and we would do some dances, but it was never like a theatrical production. And so I applied to the three best theater schools that all my friends talked about, and I was like, okay, if I get in, then great, it's meant to be, and if not, that's okay. I'll still keep the arts alive in my life somehow. And I didn't get in. I went to business school. I went to the University of Connecticut, and I studied business administration. But I still, did the community theater. I was in community choirs, and just again kept the arts alive in my heart. And then a friend I went to high school with and did theater with, his mom sent me a Facebook message about the open call audition for On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan musical. She was like, you need to go to this. And so I was literally at my bank job and I saw the audition, which was 2 or 3 days later. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to this. They're looking for Latinas. Check. I grew up on Gloria's music. Check. I don't have to pretend to be anybody else. Let me just try. Thankfully, my boss at the bank is a huge theater fan and he was like, you can have the day off. So I went to the open call. I printed a selfie that I took on my iPhone 4 at Walgreens. And with high school theater experience, I made my Broadway debut and was shot out of a cannon. And here we are 10 years later, and I still can't believe it.
It's incredible. And I know all the stories that never fail to amaze me always start with an open call. Because, you never know where those can go. You see those postings on Facebook or on Instagram. And I think it's so special how you always had a love for it. And even though sometimes when the world was closing doors, you were opening windows. And it's
Mhm.
incredible. So your connection to In the Heights is so inspiring, and the story of the first time that you saw it brings tears to my eyes because you say that it was the first time that you felt represented on stage.
Mhm.
And then you went on to make your Broadway debut in On Your Feet. So how did you feel watching the Latin representation in the Heights and having that kind of be a beacon of inspiration for you, and now all these years later being that beacon of inspiration for so many people?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy sometimes when I try to wrap my head around it. Um, it really became full circle for me the first day of rehearsal for the On Your Feet lab, where we're creating the show in the rehearsal space. And one by one, I see people getting out of the elevator, my castmates. And again, I didn't know who was going to be in the show before then. And I saw Doreen Montalvo Man, Nina Lafarga, Henry Gainza, Eliseo Roman, Luis Salgado, so many original In the Heights Broadway cast members. And I lost it because I could not believe that I used to be the one sitting in the audience sobbing, like, I can see myself there. I want to be there. And now I am sitting next to them as their fellow actor participating in a show with them. Like I couldn't believe it. And that's when it became full circle because other than In the Heights, that was a show I wanted to do so bad where I felt like my authentic self. I could be in that show. I didn't know if there would be another show that was like that I could be in. And so when On Your Feet came, it's just, and again, with those same group of people, many of those group of people that, I looked up to so much and still do, it's just, it was very, very full circle. And to now be that for other people, to have had little girls come to the stage door wearing their princess costumes and, grown adults to tell me how important and how meaningful it is to have somebody, that's Latin and just like with my experience be, a role model to so many other young, people. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Incredible. Seeing yourself represented on stage, there are so many things that run through your brain and, so many things that you can say, but I just think the most important thing to say is that it's the greatest feeling in the world. It-
Absolutely. There's
It's,
no other feeling like it. It's
yeah,
a lot of people don't understand because, your passion could be cooking, your passion could be, writing, I don't know, physics, like doing physics, I don't know, whatever. But there's nothing like that instant gratification from a live audience, that like fulfillment of your soul, that like pouring yourself out each and every night in a different way, because every single show is different. No show will ever be the same, which is really amazing. Because, unlike a movie, we could press rewind, play, fast forward, play. It's going to be the same every single time, but not with theater. And I think that's one of the reasons why it changes you as a human and as an audience member, because you're, taking all that in every night so differently from every show.
yeah. It's magic. There's
Hmm.
nothing like it. So, what would you say inspired you to pursue performing, and who has been an inspiration of yours throughout your career?
Oh gosh. What inspired me to pursue this was, again, I truly, truly, truly never thought I would do this as a career. I knew that I would keep it alive in my life somehow, continuing again with community choir and community theater, and I was okay with that. And I don't know, the second I went to that audition and kept getting further and further and further, and was just being me and me and me every time, not having to pretend to really be anybody else, and just like comfortable in my own self. That's what kind of kept me going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can just be me and that's good enough, especially in this industry. It gets difficult to believe that as you continue. And so um yeah, I just felt like myself, and I felt like I could be me, and that was good enough, and it was. And I don't know.
I mean, I gotta say it. I'm sorry. I mean, today at least you're you, and that's enough, right?
Yeah.
So, you, we of course have to touch on your experience in On Your Feet because it was your Broadway debut. So, if you had to describe doing On Your Feet in 3 words, what would they be and why?
Oh gosh. I could just So we had a saying called party con pay, which is party with pay. So literally, like we were having a party every day while getting paid. I know that's 3 words, but I would say party.
I love it.
Um, oh my gosh, 3 words to describe party, family, and I don't know, gratitude, just like pride, I guess, and like where you come from, the sacrifices your family made to get you where you are, and just like celebrating that every single day, and how, you know, we are a beautiful family, and all of our cultures mixed together are just, stunning, and like make us who we are, and just celebrate, just our love for like who we are.
That's incredible. And I know you got to meet Gloria Estefan as well when you were doing the show. So did she kind of help you kind of see your character in any different way or help you add to the show
I
after
mean,
her?
yeah, so she was an integral part of the show, of course. Her and her husband Emilio were very involved from beginning to end. And she provided a lot of insight. Like I my one of my ensemble characters that I originated was Lori, who was her son's babysitter, and was I don't know if this part is true, don't quote me, but at least in the show, we were on the tour bus before it crashed. So I was tutoring him, and I was his tutor. And so she did tell me about some real life things about the babysitter. I don't know if the babysitter's name was Lori as well. But that was really cool to kind of get that insight. And then when I met her son Naib, he also started to share certain things with me. And then of course, like when I would go on as Gloria, just certain things, like she would talk to me about certain stylistic things and why she would sing things certain ways, and just how she's very much, at least for the show, like singing it like the record. Not much like vocal freedom, like with pop music. It's very, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes. So she is, you know, she loves and expects you to sing true to her and the record, which I
definitely.
loved and admired. Yeah.
You know, it's such a special show. This is
Hmm.
incredible. So it's a must that we talk about Dear Evan Hansen because that's how you
Wow.
into my life. So you did the show both on tour and on Broadway. So can you share with us a little bit about your DEH journey and your experiences playing Zoe and Alana?
Yes, so I started on tour as a vacation swing. I came in with the second year cast, so we all learned the show together. And as a vacation swing, you come in to be there for turnover, for to cover vacation, sick days, and things like that. So I was there for about 2.5 months. Came home, they called me to go back again, so I went for another 2.5 months. I think I was home maybe a month or two, so kind of felt like back to back, which was nice. And that was amazing. I had never done a tour before. And I got to visit places that I never thought I'd ever go to in my life. And we went to Canada and got to go to a bunch of cities there. So that was really cool. And bonding with the cast, like it was amazing. And then the pandemic hit, and I was supposed to do another show. And then all of a sudden, when Broadway was reopening, I believe Dear Evan Hansen was the final show to open that season post, pandemic. And I got a call I got an offer to join the Broadway company of Dear Evan Hansen. And I was like, oh my gosh. And at that point, during the pandemic, I got married, I have stepkids, and I started working at the bank again. I used to work at virtually because what were we all doing, like it's like we
Right.
didn't know what I was. And I was committed to going back, you know what I mean? I'm like, I've always said I'm gonna ride this wave until I can't anymore. I've gotten more out of this than I could have ever imagined. And like maybe it's time, maybe it's time and the universe will give me a sign when, if it's not time. And it sure did, because 2 days before I was supposed to make my final decision, I got the offer. And so I'm like, okay, I guess it's not over. And so I joined the Broadway company for the reopening. And that was incredible to be a part of that, not only that company, but also again, like reopening Broadway and just like dealing with everything that we've all had to go through during those 2.5 years, and like that, the new culture of Broadway post pandemic and everything like that. And, getting to meet Mateo and so many other people, and like, being in a show where like we got to step into those roles and represent who we are and our cultures too was just so, so amazing. I think I was his Zoe for his debut.
Yeah, watching the two of you do
Yeah.
that. I
And
like my
so
two favorite people. I have tears in my eyes. It was everything.
that was very special. That was very, very special.
Mhm. Do you have any favorite memories from your time at DH?
Oh my gosh, yes, but I can't even think off the top of my head. Oh, I loved playing Alana. Like, I mean, I loved playing both Zoe and Alana, of course. But Alana, when she in the top of Act Two, when they're both doing the FaceTime call and like, oh my gosh, I forgot the lines right now. But when they're doing that, I had so much fun
Yeah.
doing that. What else? Oh, so I was an understudy, so we weren't on all the time, obviously. But the backstage show, the understudies were my favorite. We would play board games and Mario Kart and crossword puzzles, and just like the memories that I made backstage too were some of the most
I love it.
special ones that I would cherish forever. Yeah.
I love that. And I have to ask, what was it like for you, doing both those roles? I always ask swings and understudies, covering two roles in the show. What was that like for you?
Um, because I had done the show before, it wasn't, I was very familiar with it, but I loved it because it's like these are two different girls, you know what I mean? And you also get to access two kind of different pieces of yourself. And, with Zoe, if I had a heavy emotional day, oh, that character was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got to access all of that, which was great. And then with Alana, I just always had so much fun. Whenever I found out what was going on for her, like right away, my mood would just like, I don't
Yeah.
know, chipper and putting on the glasses and my little braid and then the outfits. It was a lot of fun.
What was your closest call time, like the earliest you found out you were going on?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. I don't think it was too bad.
That's good.
I know a few other understudies have gotten it mid-show, like,
I
but I've
know
never.
on this tour, because I had a lot of the other cast on, because I got to be in Buffalo with them, and it was so special to get to spend time with everyone. And I learned about mid-show swing-ons for the Evans, and I was like, "This is crazy."
It's a tough show. I mean,
Yeah,
doing theater is hard, period, but that show is tough.
yeah,
So, for someone to call out mid-show, it means that it's like something serious, or just like they just can't. And then, understudies and swings save the day and
always.
get it done, because without them it couldn't happen. We're all human.
No, I remember the first time that I had a swing on the show, and, like, as an actor personally, it's so hard to remember your own lines for your own track, and then, when you start to cover, like, 4 or 5 tracks in the same show, I was like, "I don't know how you do it."
I've
It's
only ever covered two. I don't even know how I could do another.
It's incredible. So you most recently played the role of Cinderella in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Bad Cinderella on Broadway. I can't imagine what that experience was like for you getting to work with Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber and originate a role on Broadway, lead a company, performing in such an incredible show with incredible costumes, singing the most beautiful songs, and of course, I mean, we have to talk about it, creating the iconic footkick. So can you share with us your Bad Cinderella journey and how everything came to be?
It's, I know it sounds cliche, but it was a literal dream come true. Like I would not change a thing, and it almost feels like a dream now. Like I can't believe that happened. It was incredible. The company, like I could not have done this without the company. They were amazing, lifted me up. Um, Working with Andrew was a dream come true. Like again, even saying that, like I can't believe that happened. It's like, did that happen? Oh my gosh. He's amazing. He's so supportive. He would ask me, how do you want to sing it? How do you want me to sing it? Why are you asking me? I can't believe you're asking me. So, those moments I'm like, oh my gosh, we're really special, and like you're trusting me. Um, but it was a literal dream come true. That's honestly, like I have no words, just the most incredible experience of my life, and I wish I could relive it over and over again.
So special. We have to talk about the press day. What was running through your mind that day?
Literally, I was so nervous. I also did not really know I knew what was going on, but I didn't really. Listen, all they told me to do was spray paint B and D. We had
Yeah,
practiced that the day before. Spray paint B, just spray paint B, look back, and then, it's like a look, and then go on with the D. That kick, I don't know what happened. By the time I looked back, my leg came up, and that became a viral sensation.
it was viral, and I loved it. I was living for it.
So again, this was my first experience with all of this originating, like press, like, so I did not know what to expect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot in a good way. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, now I know, because that was the most epic, press day. So now
Yeah,
I know everything else is going to be easy peasy.
yeah, no, that was amazing. And you got to go to London. Did you? Because I know
Yeah.
you recorded "I Have a Heart" in London.
I recorded Bad Cinderella in London, the single that came out. I also recorded it in Spanish, which I wish that, we could have done
No
something like that.
way!
you know. Yeah, we recorded it in Spanish.
Incredible.
And then over there is so the one original song that was not a part of the London production that Andrew wrote for our production was Easy to Be Me, that I sang. It was like my favorite song. So
So
I learned that song over there and recorded just like a demo of it over there. And then over here I recorded the single, which again also I don't know. But I have never been to London. And so to go to London to just casually work with Andrew Lloyd Webber, I'm just saying, but I went for not even 3 days. I think I wasn't even there 3 whole days. So it was this. My last night, I got to like go out and, venture for 2 hours or something. So I can't wait to go back. But yeah, it was very, very quick. Work,
that's
work, work. But
amazing.
it
Did
was
you see
awesome.
Did you see the show in London?
I didn't, it had closed already. I went in
Oh.
August.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe it had closed maybe like or early summer, I think it closed. I went at the end of August. Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, originating a role. Because
It
I
was
know it's
like,
the first time you've done that.
yeah, I mean, it was challenging, like, just having all eyes on you and like making a fool out of yourself, but also like, oh my gosh, I don't want to embarrass myself. Like everybody's watching me, I'm gonna mess up. Like you just have to, it's easier said than done because, God willing, if the next time I originate a role, it's gonna happen. But it's like you have to trust that you're gonna fail. You have to trust that you're gonna make mistakes. You have to get it wrong 100 times, or you have to do it 100 different times to know what works for you and the team. And so just like being as vulnerable as possible, which is hard and scary. And as again, easier said than done, trusting yourself. And the hardest part was getting cast. You already got cast. Now it's to do the work. And so that was hard for me to understand. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. Can I do this? And like the hardest part is over. Like I'm here. So now it's the fun, So yeah, it's such a special feeling that's, with so many mixed emotions because you're constantly dealing with like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? Like, but it was awesome.
What was your audition process like? Because that must have been a whirlwind.
Yeah, it was the hardest audition process I've ever been through. I was in Dear Evan Hansen at the time,
Oh.
and 10 a.m. belting our faces off.
Mhm.
And I think the audition ran an extra day or two than it was supposed to. And so back to back, 10 a.m., right?
Wow.
And so I kept getting closer and closer and closer, and it ended up being like five girls and then three girls. And at that point, I was like, I was so I get very, very nervous the closer I go. I don't know, because it's like the
Me
chances are,
too. Yeah.
well, it's like, and then you're like, how many more times can I sing the same three songs on the same three sides and do them any different? Like, you know? So, but that second to last audition, I think it was the second to last. I don't remember because it was so much. Um, we had each girl, I think it was down to three at that point, had a private work session with Andrew, which was nice before we went into the room with 1,000 producers and people and cameras and all that stuff. So that was nice because you got to get some of the nerves off because like he was the scariest person to audition for. Not the
Right.
scariest, but like, oh my gosh,
Like
right?
Andrew Lloyd Webber. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to do that and that was really, really great. And then I had to go back into the room to do the final. So it was a lot. I was going back to work in Dear Evan Hansen exhausted. A few of us were going in for the show for different parts. And, then the day that I got the offer in the room, again, that was a long day after a long week of auditions. And I sang my heart out. The director put me in a chair. I was singing far too late. He was like, I don't want you to move. He was like, just sing and stay still. And I died in that chair. I was like sobbing, like I had left everything on the floor. Went back to the holding room. No one was there, which I thought was weird because again, it had only been three girls at this point, and all the guys had already left. And so I was like, okay, nobody's here, but okay, let me get my things because I thought I was done. And the casting director came back in and he was like, hey, they need to see you again. And I'm like, I started crying. I was like, I have not, like, I can't do it again. There's nothing. He was like, just give me your stuff. And I was like, okay. So I go in the room and that's when the director was like, wanted to ask you something. And then Andrew gets up and asks me if I would be his Cinderella. And
Oh,
I was just like, oh my gosh.
I'm gonna
And
cry.
and then I went to the Urban Hands, and so they were like, okay, we wanted to give you this gift because you deserve it, but you can't say anything. And this was 1 year before we started previous.
So how long did
So
you hold the secret for? Like
like
a
10
year?
months, like
Oh my
10
God.
months, because the press release came out in October. So
Right.
February, October. And so I went to Dear Evan Hansen that night. Thank God I wasn't on. I literally sat, and one of my friends that was in for another role in finals knew and kept pressuring me. They were like, oh, how did it go today? So I heard, and because we saw each other at the audition, and he was like, so I know this person that didn't get it and this one. So, and I'm like, don't do that to me. Like, I can't, whatever. So I didn't admit it, but like kept pressuring me because I think he knew. But anyway, I literally sat in my chair during act one. And can you imagine holding in a secret like that? And just like
Oh,
casually going to work. I
I
was
could
literally
never.
shaking my seat. I was shaking my seat. I was nauseous. And I told stage management, I was like, I have to go home. Like I don't feel good. Because I couldn't sit there with
Yeah.
this information.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I was like, I'm gonna throw up. And I threw up and I left.
Boy, that is a crazy story. And I have to say, we need to talk about your Mr. A sweater. I love it. Do you still wear it? It's
I
amazing.
literally just saw, so I packed all of my dressing room stuff,
Hmm.
right? And I have a storage unit. We were fixing our basement. So like I finally opened that box and I found the sweater.
Good. And
So
the
I
Cinderella
will
cup?
be wearing it now.
Awesome. And the cup that you got, the Cinderella
Oh
cup. I
yeah.
have to ask about it. It's amazing.
Thank you.
That was a beautiful sign. I remember seeing your story that day and I was like, that's incredible.
And I just saw a different one the other day, like when I went back to TJ Maxx and I was like, oh,
Oh, that's amazing. So you were the first Latina woman to originate a leading role in a Lloyd Webber production. How does that make you feel to be making history and inspiring so many people along the way?
it's so much bigger than me. I just feel honored and grateful and like to hold this responsibility. It's heartbreaking that I'm the first, that it took this long, but at the same time, it's like, you know, paving the way for so many people to finally see themselves represented, and like hopefully can believe in themselves enough to know, like, I can be any kind of princess, I can be anything, it doesn't matter how I look or who I am. And I don't know, it's just a responsibility I don't take lightly, and it's something that really means a lot to me.
Most inspiring. So
Thank
if
you.
you could go back to any moment during Bad Cinderella, what moment would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, what would it be? There's like, again, I know I sound cliche, but it was a dream come true. Like literally everything. Like I think either our opening night or just being backstage with everyone before the show. Our circle during intermission, just going on stage with everyone and just like, acting a fool and just like bonding with everyone, just like being with the cast. Because sometimes it was isolating because I had to be in my dressing room, or I was on stage when everybody wasn't, or if I'm on stage, I can't mess around with everybody like they're doing, and I'm like, oh, I'm missing out on the fun. Like I want to mess around too. But just like those moments where we would all bond before the show. Actually, another moment that I thought of, my Sipperellas. So I used to host everyone in my dressing room on Sundays, and then when I did not do Sunday shows, on Saturday nights for Snob, Saturday night on Broadway.
My
And
favorite.
yeah, and then I used to host a Sipperella. So we would
I
all have
love
like a
it.
sip of a cocktail or something, and just like, again, a way to bond with everyone and for us to just come together, talk about the week, and just like vent and just have fun and music. And yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So you
Thanks.
had such an incredible career so far, and to get to watch you shine, look up to you, and be inspired by you is a gift within itself. So if you had to pick three major milestones or highlights from your career, what would they be?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, seeing you in that magazine in the top 10, I think was my favorite.
Like, I can't even believe that still.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, top three moments. I literally don't know. I think my Broadway debut, there you will never have that feeling for the rest of your life. So that feeling is so special. My Broadway debut, um, oh my gosh, I can't even think. Um, that when Andrew told me that I got the role, I will never forget that for the rest of my life. And oh my God, there's so many. I think maybe our closing show, because it was so like it's an imprinted in my heart for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's so special.
Mhm.
So looking back on everything you have achieved in this industry, what advice would you give your younger self entering the industry?
Oh my gosh. You are enough. You are enough. Believe in yourself. You know, uh um the imposter syndrome is real and normal for anyone at any level in any industry, is what I've learned from so many people that have told me that. So trust that you are enough and you are where you are for a reason, because everything happens for a reason, and what's meant to be will be, and what's meant to be yours will be yours.
I love it. Linedy, thank you so much for joining me on the Inspiration Show. You are truly one of my biggest inspirations, and I'm so grateful for you and all you do. It was an honor to have you here. Thank you for inspiring me.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.